Welcome everyone to the Meadow and Hawk Collective. I'm just gonna get right into the message for this Libra full moon, which is going to go exact 21 minutes past midnight Universal Time on April 13th. And so the sun is going to be, I believe, like 19 minutes past in exact conjunction with the asteroid Chiron, also known as the wounded healer, that kind of archetype that speaks to our Achilles heel, the wound that never quite heals, but that is also our deepest, most true sense of like true embodied learning, in the sense that it's not something that we think about, like with maybe Pallas Athena or other asteroids that are more like strategy. No, Chiron is down here. It's like things that we've actually like put blood, sweat, and tears into, through, and that we then becomes this Persephone thing, where when we're in the underworld in the shit, and then we kind of may go back to be a guide to others, to guide them through that space that we also were in. And so the sun is very close to Chiron, and then of course the moon in Libra is opposing the sun, creating that full moon. And the message that's coming through is that there's messengers. So being something about hearing, opening our hearing. What are we noticing? Are we the card that I pulled is the hum and the holler. And so like the sharp, the loud, the demanding crow voice versus the like very subtle, soft moth sounds. And some of what this book says about this card are to loosen your gaze, notice what's dominating the airways and tune into a softer channel, find a quiet place to think, read the less well-known author, pay attention to messages from small things, children, insects, flowers, seeds, leave the noise behind in pursuit of the subtle and unheard. And then when I'm kind of thinking about the subtle and the unheard, and several of the Sabian symbols with this full moon have to do with opening up a window. And so like when we open up a window, we can hear the birds outside, we can hear maybe voices, we can hear, so it's like this full moon is illuminating all of the ways that we kind of keep barriers between ourselves and the world. With Chiron, a lot of the conditioned wounding around feeling like these core wounds make us unlovable, or people kind of create like a literal distance between us and others when we're relating, because there's this like third energy in the room, which is like the pain body, which is kind of creating these boundaries and these separations and this kind of energy of exclusivity, and kind of creating separation, versus opening up the window, widening the aperture, tuning into the softer messages, especially with, again, we still have, I sound like a broken record, but a lot of planets at the end of Pisces as well as the beginning of Aries. Our first lunation since Neptune has ingressed into Aries at that 0 degree mark, huge catalyst degree of the zodiac that brings life into form, that kind of the transformation of like life from water onto land, that kind of big monumental shift from the etheric and the spirit and bringing it all down in an instant. So we have also on like the same day that this Libra full moon goes exact, we have Venus finally moving direct. So now she's emerged, she's been visible for a little while as a morning star and is now moving direct. And so a lot of emphasis in this full moon around relationships, relating. Now we have Mercury as well as Venus direct, and so we're really being supported to kind of clean up this like emotional congestion or debris in our relationships, and to really like let the wind in, let the breeze in. Like the image is like the open window, the duvet, the pillows are being aired out, like there's bringing the outside in, creating kind of this seamlessness, which is tricky because especially a lot of the times with, you know, the sun and Chiron so close together in Aries, this energy of this like defensive quality, especially also with Mars in his detriment at like the end degrees of Cancer, almost wrapping up there and gonna move into Leo soon. There's this potential for defensiveness, but then it's like if we can just take that moment of pause to tune into the softer channel, to, if conflict is here, like what's underneath the conflict, and just kind of, we can drop it down a little bit. There's like a lot of space that's opening up, and interestingly, a lot of things around abundance too, like the cornucopia, which the harvest moon, which is interesting because we think about that as like coming through in Libra season, so the autumn. And so if this full moon is kind of like getting ready to receive the abundance, giving thanks, but also making space so that the gift can land, if that makes sense. Opening up the windows so the breeze can come in. Like if there's a blessing but the window, there's a barrier. There's something around like barriers versus making ourselves available to receive the message, the messenger, to kind of have that like spiritual hospitality, to be able to make ourselves available for the blessings that are all around. Great, so that felt like a very flowing message. So I think I'm going to start shuffling the tarot. Let me check my notes to see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Yeah, I think also Lindsay Mack of Tarot for the Wild Soul, in her tarot forecast for the month of April, was like, April is the chrysalis. Like it's when we're kind of like the translucent chrysalis, like we can kind of see that the butterfly is in there, but it's not quite like dried out, its wings, it's not quite a butterfly yet, it's still in the chrysalis. And so this theme around, you know, it being darkest before the dawn, being kind of difficult to see how far we've grown into something or how close we are, how close something is to landing, still being in this kind of cradle of fertile darkness, but like a very positive feeling around this full moon. Of course, you know, we can expect sometimes the kind of one manifestation is like relationship drama, if we take it that way, but it also can be kind of, again, blowing the relationship open through conflict into a deeper level of relating that's more true. Or, yeah, tuning into the softer channel. Okay. The Five of Cups in the reverse position came out. Yeah, so it's like, with this simultaneous, like, last decan of Pisces moving into Aries energy, it's like holding, like, there's enough space for all of it. Like with the open window, there's enough room for the deep grief of this card, in the, like, the longing, the regret, the ache, but it's also like there is space to finally be able to like poke your head out and to contemplate that there can also be a lot of growth coming and a lot of blessings. Tuning into the softer channel. Okay. Thank you for this confirmation. Yeah, so we have the Page as well as the Knight of Swords, both of them in the reversed position. And this is kind of like the loud channel dominating the airways, like the metaphorical crow's call. The kind of loud, the need to kind of verbalize and rush and prove points, and they're in the reversed position. We also have the Devil upright. We have the Ten of Swords in the reverse position. And we also have Strength. Wow. So in this energy of midwifing, a lot of energy through this kind of cradle of transmutation, the chrysalis, like noticing any sort of resistance that we have to letting go, to endings, whether they're in relationships or others. But this energy of bridging divides, bridging chasms, opening the window with strength, it's like we don't really have to know the way, how it's going to work out. We don't need to be able to explain. Like there's a big message coming through around leaving room for like uncertain or unforeseen blessings. And like there's a piece in a lot of our lives that we don't see yet, but it's very, very, very close. And okay, let me get a little bit of clarification. If strength is the softer channel of information coming in, what are we invited to know about what is ready to emerge into our lives? And I think about the devil too, with especially the imagery invoking a lot of fear, is kind of like the louder channel, in that it kind of evokes these strong fear responses, but it's like underneath the devil is strength. And there's this interesting thing I'm observing right now with this dynamic of like death and the devil and the sun kind of simultaneously, where it's like, you know, the sun as a maximum illuminator brings forth also awareness of what's in the shadows. Resisting some kind of ending. Yeah, it's like the louder voice is saying what and this could be a voice, you can interpret this lots of ways within yourself, but also in others. The voice is like very afraid of change, and so the only way that it knows how to control is to like lash out in order to try to control the people around it and control reactions and control outcomes, because it's afraid of change. But this strength card is just, this part of us trusts, is able to like to confront something, and therefore just by being with it, change it. Like it changes when we're with it. And this is kind of an essential piece of Chiron, is that the energy of the archetype to kind of create shame only occurs in the darkness, only occurs where there isn't light and awareness and recognition. So this is a specific message for maybe a few people in the collective, but that there's a piece around how a loss that was never healed, kind of, or never, not that we ever heal from loss, but there's a piece of like an unprocessed grief, or a grief that was being felt but kind of stopped midway, got stuck early in life, and the ways that that is like, is ready to be looked at more deeply, to sit with that loss. Okay. What opportunity, what blessing is wanting to arrive through our open windows of this Libra full moon? Judgment. Clarity. Knowing. Let me get one clarifying message. Judgment. Judgment with death. Yeah, this death card has been very, very strong. And judgment, death, and the devil. Wow, and strength. We have 4 major arcana cards. This is very big. Judgment with death. Judgment with death. And this is, okay, so this is a card of the last decan of Gemini, and it's kind of this like overkill, this energy overkill, where it's like, yeah, maybe like a fifth of these swords would have done. Like one really probably would have killed it. But there's like an excessive, it's like, is the letting go graceful, or is it like full of resistance and kind of like digging the nails into the cough, like kicking and screaming, or going with strength? And one isn't wrong or right. It's very, very human to be able to cling and to see what's leaving and then to try to make it stay. But I just can't help but feel like how different these energies feel. The Page of Swords and the Knight of Swords as these kind of like declarers, these like loud trumpeting energies, versus strength, like a much quieter energy. A much quieter energy. And it's almost like we can notice at this time the importance of words in communicating and writing, and how sometimes, especially in relationships with others, we reinforce things that we want to leave behind. Or, because kind of like the Ram Dass thing about if you think you're enlightened, like spend the holidays with your family, where there's it's like some part of communication is keeping this older energy present even when it's ready to go. And so just being very aware of what we're saying, and especially what we're not saying, the importance of being in silence in order for this recognition. Because a lot of times we know the truth about something. This energy of the trumpet, interesting. So it's like, is the trumpet kind of this like this like evangelizing, like treaty writing this energy? Or is the trumpet kind of like this clear call, this call from within, this messenger that's kind of in the quiet with the open window in the space that's been created? Clarity can arrive, and we are able to greet, to release the pain that keeps us from honestly relating to others and keeping our hearts open. And we're also willing to the Magician on the bottom of the deck. Yeah, this energy, the importance of our words at this time, and that we can be, it's like we've already moved through something and it is complete, but in the acts of relating in old ways based on in our communication, what we're saying, it's like keeping some energy around even when it's dead. It's dead, and the energy wants to move and be transmuted into something else. But there's an important element around relating here, I will say. So if there's like a message of reassurance coming through, that if there's this kind of like catastrophizing nightmare scenario, that something is wanting to come in that's gonna change everything, which sounds like a strange message, but I'll trust that this was what needed to come through. And have a beautiful day and a beautiful and powerful Libra full moon.